my interest in colour is absolutely about colour as you experience it in the urban environment. I mean, my work's been concerned with colour since about 1992, so for longer than I almost care to think now. So most people who are talked about as colourists, you think of them, certainly in the UK, as being nature painters of one kind or another. My work's got nothing to do with that at all. It's about colour in the city, and the way you experience colour in the city, it seems to me, is very different from the way you experience it in nature. Colour in the city tends to be artificial rather than natural. It tends, these days at least, to be electrical, petrochemical. It's plastics and electricity which generate the colours that we see on a daily basis. One of the main ways in which you see colour in the city is through illuminated signs, be they neon or light boxes or fluorescent lights or whatever. And it just struck me that I ought to have a look at this stuff and start working with it. So, I mean, I literally just I found a few light boxes or bought some from a second-hand place and started messing around with them in the studio. With the Spectrum of Brick Lane, for example, there's one side of it which is all the illuminated colour and the glowing, and sort of seductive light. But then the other side of the work is just the sort of the flecks and the backs of the box. It's like the back of an old stereo. And the idea is that the viewer would see it from both sides. And it strikes me that sort of front and back relationship is much more like the way we experience things in the city, as opposed to the way we experience things in nature, which is sort of more in the round. I became very interested in the monochrome as a type of painting or as a type of way of making art, which is to say completely flat, unmodulated overall panel of colour without any drawing in it at all. Arguably, the monochrome is the easiest kind of painting to make. I mean, anyone can make a monochrome. It's sort of idiot-proof. Having set out to make monochromes and think it would be a pretty straightforward thing to do, it took me some years to figure out how to make a monochrome that seemed not just like every other monochrome. The studio is a place where things happen, where things go wrong, where things collide and overlap. And it's in those kinds of bits of peripheral vision and those kinds of studio accidents that, to my mind, in a way the most important and most interesting things happen. And as a result, largely of a kind of studio accident, I ended up putting a panel of very bright industrial colour on an old industrial low-level dolly, kind of warehouse dolly. And it kind of fitted, and I thought, and it really was a studio accident, but it made me think, well, maybe this is the way of supporting this panel of colour, not hanging it on the wall, separating it from the ground, but having it connected to a somewhat strange object. The one thing that the dolly works and the lightbox works have in common is that they are very rectangular. The individual elements, at least, are rectangular, even if the overall shapes of the combined elements aren't. And I've always suspected that the rectangle is something that comes out of my, originally starting out as a painter. And then it's a kind of prehensile tale of painting, as if there's still a bit of the painter in me, but it only exists in the kind of in that rectangular motif. And and I was quite conscious that it took me years to get off the rectangle, to try to sort of wean myself away from this very sort of rudimentary structure. And I gradually began to do it. I tend nowadays to make work which is rather slightly more formless or more spherical or circular or just not so bloody rectangular, at least. So it's a relief.